Is anymore. One of the challenges of covering this story is the information comes at us and in small pieces, and we're just beginning to be able to put some of this stuff together. The Attorney General John Ashcroft confirming that the suspected hijackers actually were, some of them, trained in the United States as pilots. He also confirmed that the planes, individual planes that were hijacked by as many as 3 to 6 individuals on each plane, some of them using knives and box cutters, and as Kelly Arena just reported, in the case of this flight going from Newark to San Francisco, bomb threats. Federal agents have taken some folks into custody in Boston, Providence, Rhode Island, Vero Beach, and Venice, Florida. And right now, we're going to go to a report by Mike Boettcher that helps us all better understand how broad this investigation is underway tonight.
From Maine to Florida, the investigation moved quickly along the eastern seaboard.
We have, in the last 24 hours, taken the manifests and used those as an evidentiary base, and have talked to many of the families of the victims and have successfully, I believe, identified many of the hijackers on each of the 4 flights that went down.
Federal investigators now believe they know the identity of 4 men capable of piloting the 2 planes that left Boston and crashed into the World Trade Center. The key, rental cars parked by the suspected terrorist at Portland International Airport and Boston's Logan Airport, each yielding clues that ultimately led investigators to flight schools in Florida.
A number of the suspected hijackers were trained as pilots in the United States.
Rental records for the car left in Portland brought investigators to residences in Vero Beach, Florida, which were searched by the FBI. Inside one house, pictures of Adnan Bukhari and a pilot certificate from a Florida flight school in his name. Also found inside the residence, another pilot certificate for Amir Abbas Bukhari. Another certificate indicates that at least one of the Bukharis participated in a program to help train Saudi Airlines employees. Federal investigators believe the 2 men are brothers and prime suspects. FBI agents also visited other Florida locations after gathering clues from the second rental car parked at Boston's Logan Airport that led to the identity of 2 more men, also pilots, Mohammed Atta and Marwan Youssef al-Shahi, who received at least some flight training at Huffman Aviation in Venice, Florida. Charles Voss is a bookkeeper at Huffman Aviation who briefly allowed the 2 men to stay at his house.
They were, like I said, students, and they arrived over there a year ago. It was in last July. And when they first arrived, they had no place to stay. They just popped in pretty much, as I recall, unannounced. And so we provided them for the benefit of the flight school, provided them a place to stay for a few days.
At least one person believed to be an acquaintance of the Bukharis has been taken into custody for questioning.
There have been occasions where we have interviewed individuals and come to find that the individual is out of status and that individual has been detained on an immigration hold. But there have been no arrests relating to these hijackings at this point.
Having found the 4 men, federal investigators believe piloted the 2 hijacked jets into the World Trade Center towers. They are now scouring Florida flight schools, searching for the pilots of the other 2 jetliners, one that crashed in Pennsylvania, the other that rammed the Pentagon.
Now, about the nationality of those 4 suspects, the Bukhari brothers are Saudis, according to sources, and the other 2 suspects are holders of United Arab Emirate passports. Now, we have several new pieces of information provided by CNN correspondent Eileen O'Connor, who has been providing new information all day long. She says 3 people were taken into custody in an FBI raid at the Westin Copley Hotel in Boston. They are material witnesses. They were not arrested. They are material witnesses. They have also learned, according to her sources, federal investigators, they've also learned that 7 of the airline tickets were purchased with 1 credit card. That is a critical piece of information, according to those investigators. As well, we've learned that, and Eileen O'Connor has learned that America Online, which is the parent company of CNN, has handed over records on email accounts that were used by suspects in this case. And as well, Eileen O'Connor is reporting that 2 hijackers used a ferry to get to the United States to Bar Harbor, Maine from Nova Scotia. So they used a ferry to reach this country. Paula?
Mike, if you could clear up something for us tonight. I know some of the officials I've talked to are quite sensitive about calling these men who have been taken into custody as suspects. Can we, with great comfort, call all these men that are being questioned suspects tonight, or just a couple of them? What is their status?
Well, Paula, those who are living, who were taken, the people at the hotel who were taken, are material witnesses. We're not calling them suspects. The federal investigators aren't calling them suspects. But the 4 people who the federal investigators say are suspects, the Bukhari brothers and the other 2 people down in Florida, they believe those 4 people are dead, Paula, and they were on the airplane and are very likely the 4 people who would have flown the aircraft, the 2 airplanes, into the 2 World Trade Center towers.
Mike, earlier today you spent some time focusing in on reports that both surfaced in the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald showing the vulnerabilities of Logan Airport. Those reporters calling the security procedures there in some cases shoddy. Based on what you're learning about what has been retrieved from that car that was parked at Logan Airport, could anything have stopped these guys? Any security procedures have stopped these guys from carrying off what they accomplished out of Logan Airport?
Well, you know, Paula, let me answer it this way. I spent 5 weeks in Beirut this summer. A lot of it doing stories on suicide bombers for later reporting that I'm doing. And a suicide bomber, there's very little chance of stopping a suicide bomber. They believe they're going to glory. That's why they leave behind clues. They want people to know who they are because, Paula, they believe they aren't coming back and they're going on to a better life. That is their belief.
Walk us through very briefly what you think we can expect tomorrow in terms of even more developments on this front.
Well, the FBI is checking flight schools in Florida and other parts of the country. They believe they'll find the pilots of the other 2 aircraft, the one that crashed in Pennsylvania and the one that crashed into the Pentagon. They're desperately trying to find those other pilots, but I got to tell you, they've moved very quickly today, have done an excellent job. They've already, in this day after, have what they believe are 4 of the pilots involved in this.
All right, Mike Boettcher, thanks for your complete reporting. Aaron and I are about to be drowned out by sirens. I don't think we have any idea.
Yeah, I have some idea.
What is going on now?
I have some idea. You can hear the sirens.